And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Monday morning, looks like there's going to be a lot of IFR here from the Bering Sea right into the southwest interior and then right up across the Kuskokwim Valley into the central part of the state here. Another batch up there in the eastern Arctic coast, and IFR all the way down into the Aleutians. VFR holding northeastern Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, south and east of the Alaska Range, as well as the Panhandle. And for the afternoon, that doesn't change much. Down here to the south, a lot of VFR. Central interior, that's where the lower conditions are, all the way up to the Arctic coast and portions of the North Slope. IFR, southwest flow here continues to push that IFR zone right across the Seward Peninsula and into the northwest coast, right on down along the west coast there, but improving over the Aleutians, marginal VFR for Adak and Atka, over toward Unalaska Island. And then back to a widespread IFR for the Bering Sea here, back down into the western Aleutians, and that's sliding up into Bristol Bay and much of the interior now. Again, north and west of the Alaska Range here in the IFR zone, all the way up across the Brooks Range on out to the eastern Arctic coast. Southeast interior here down to the Gulf of Alaska, VFR. It stays VFR over the southeast coast for Tuesday morning into the afternoon as well. North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, South Central Alaska, VFR, as well as Kodiak Island. IFR kind of pushing a little bit southward here. Well, not too much, still hung up mostly along the Alaska Range, western Alaska Range there, all the way over to the eastern border. Much improved up there to the north of Brooks Range out to the Arctic coast. VFR, marginal VFR lingering on the east side up there, and solid IFR for the western interior out to the eastern Bering Sea and down along the frontal boundary there in toward Adak. And for passes tomorrow, IFR improves to marginal VFR for both Anaktuvik and Adigan. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR flying through the passes. VFR for rainy, windy, IFR, especially on the northern entrance. And Isabel, same forecast, look for IFR there. Marginal for Mentasta, Tanita, back to VFR. And for Portage, VFR, and another VFR day for Chilkoot and White. Freezing levels here, southeast coast, 2,000 to 4,000 feet down that way. Out to the west with the upper level high pressure starting to diminish a little bit here, but still 8,000 feet now up in toward the southwest coast, 2,000 feet around St. Lawrence Island. And then icing along a frontal boundary here, we've got areas of considerable moderate rime icing moving into the Seward Peninsula, Kotzebue Sound area, and then trailing back to the southwest there in toward Shimia and Attu, and some isolated moderate rime icing through the central interior here, staying north of the Alaska Range. And for the jet stream, again, high pressure's breaking down and retreating southeastward actually here. Strong jet coming over the top of that high up to 135 knots there, diminishing over the interior and turning north. Northerlies 75 knots over the southeast coast. And for 9,000 feet, good westerly flow here, kind of oriented from northeast to southwest there, but pretty much westerly in direction, anywhere from 65 to 70 knots. And 40 knot northwest winds there over the eastern interior, 40 to 45 knots along the Arctic coast. And at 3,000 feet, west winds 45 knots, portions of the Arctic coast, and about 35 for the Seward Peninsula. Otherwise, westerly flow out there anywhere from 45 to 50 knots over the Bering Sea, extending down into the western Aleutians. Northwest 40 knots, especially through Kamishak Bay there, and Kodiak Island a little bit less. And the strongest winds off the coast of the southern Panhandle. Turbulence, considerable moderates here expected for the Alaska Range, western Cook Inlet down into Kamishak Bay, Barren Islands, all of Kodiak Island, eastern Bristol Bay, as well as the western interior here, southern Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, and way out west there over Shimia and Attu.